Well, hello, friends. My name is Matt. I'm the youth and family pastor at Cornerstone Church in Marshfield, and I'm here today with your Cornerstone Connection, a daily devotional. So, obviously, we've been in our current isolation and quarantine and whatever you want to call it, but this crisis for a good while now 4, 5, 6 weeks, whatever it's been. And it's clear to everybody that it gets frustrating. There's tension. And there's tension everywhere. I mean, you don't have to look very hard to find that people are getting frustrated. They're getting frustrated with what is being legislated. They're getting frustrated with how others react to what's being legislated. There's just tension. And what is such a temptation for us then, and the believer as well, the Christian believer, is to take that frustration and look at those who are making certain decisions and begin pointing the finger, begin arguing, begin thinking that our enemy is people, that our enemy are the people who are making decisions, as government and all of this. And we can fall into a nasty trap sometimes. Um, and as I've just kind of seen this happening and observing it, it's just drawn me to Ephesians 6, where Paul, at the latter part of Ephesians 5 and then getting into chapter 6, he's talking about relationships. He talks about wives and husbands and how they are to relate with one another. In chapter 6, he talks about children and parents and how they are to treat one another and relate to one another. And then he talks about slaves and masters and how they are to treat each other. And then, of course, at the end of chapter 6, he gets into the armor of God. And I think there's real reason why he gets into that. And in verse 12, he has this wonderful statement that is a great reminder for all of us. No matter what relationship we're in and no matter what time period we're in a certain relationship, when there is points of contention and frustration, it is so important for us to remember what Paul writes to us in Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12, as he talks about putting on the full armor of God. And he writes this, he says, "For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms." And he goes on, of course, as many of you know, and he says, "Therefore, put on the full armor of God." And he talks about all 6 pieces of the armor of God. And as I read that this weekend, and was reminded of that as you just kind of watch the world and hear about the tension and the frustration that's out there, I just felt, it is so important for us to be reminded. I need to be reminded. We all need to be reminded that the battle we are in is a spiritual battle. The battle that we are in is one that's not against people. It's not against flesh and blood. We're not trying to win a physical war here on this earth. We're battling against the spiritual forces of evil, against Satan and all that comes with Satan. That's who our battle is against. And so, wherever you find yourself today, maybe you are in a very frustrated place. Maybe you've had some tenuous arguments with folks, and perhaps some of that has caused some division and some breaking of relationship. Can Paul's word just speak to you today and be a reminder, as it is to me, that I'm not in a struggle against people. I'm in a struggle against the spiritual forces of evil, against Satan himself, who, above wanting to keep us in our homes and isolated and destroy our economy, what the devil wants to do is to rip us apart in our relationships with people. And he also wants to rip us apart in our relationship with God. That's what Satan's going to ultimately do here. That's what he's looking to do, not to take away our paychecks. And so let me encourage you, friends, wherever you find yourself today, keep praying. Keep praying that that we would be the light in the darkness, and that we would fight the spiritual battle, and we would trust in God. Even though it's difficult, we would trust Him. So be encouraged today, friends. Be challenged, and go forth and press on in what God's called you to today, and fight the spiritual battle. We'll see you next time on the Cornerstone Connection.